This program has been made possible in part by the following sponsors: David and Mark Goodman, the Vancouver Courier newspaper, Vancouver lawyers Dumal and Boscovich,
First there was cinemascope and stereophonic sound. I remember when I was about 19, I was at 60 or 61, seeing West Side Story, I think the first movie filmed in cinemascope and stereophonic sound in the biggest cinema in the world in Times Square. And it literally blew us out of our seats today. People would laugh, you know, what is that? Then came this adorable little product. Can you say VHS, boys and girls? Many of us had huge collections of them. They took up entire rooms. Then we went to DVDs, slimmer, a little less packaging, and they had all these extra features. You know, they'd interview the director and the director's mother and so on. And then we jumped from that to this. This little baby is an 8 gigabyte flash drive. And when this show is over, I or one of my friends, Robert here, gets this program loaded onto this little baby, and we take it home and put it up on our computers and then send it to YouTube, and then we can send it around the world. I've got an entire series of these shows on this little sucker, and this will soon be obsolete because it's run by a microchip, and that's going to be old-fashioned very soon. What's next? A liquid bubble, a little liquid that will hold 40 gigabytes and climbing. Well, all of which is to say the times they are changing, especially when it comes to information and entertainment. Nobody knows that better than Graham Peat, who is the founder and the owner of Vancouver's trademark landmark store, Videomatica, which announced, sadly for all of us, that it will soon close. Hello, Graham. Great to see you. When did you start Videomatica, and when are you actually closing the doors?
Well, we're in our 29th year, so it was this time in 1983.
Holy smokes.
And probably in the next few months, depending on whether we're still busy or not, and whether and whether we find a home for our collection.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to know about the inventory. What's going to happen with all that?
Well, most stores have sadly disappeared in the night or sold off their contents individually to their clients, but we've always felt that we were a library, not just a commercial store, and that seems to be the opinion of the public too. So when we announced we were closing, there was quite an outcry to save the collection, and we agreed, and we've been meeting with the various university film departments, and
oh, really?
That's probably what will happen with any good luck, is that we'll find a nice permanent home for what we built over 30 years, a pretty unique collection, we think.
It is a unique collection, because anybody who loves movies knows that you were the guys to go to for foreign films, for specialty items, for gay and lesbian collections, for TV collections, not just here, not just in England, but pretty well all over the world. We could get great Korean action and horror movies, you know?
Yeah, every genre.
Yeah, every genre. Yeah. You guys had it.
Yeah, I think that's what made us successful and made Vancouver unique, is that every other major city I went to, almost without exception, each place, LA, Toronto, New York, they would have specialty stores that had science fiction or documentary or performing arts, and I didn't understand why. You know, why not put all the great films together and all the great genres that people want, that film buffs want, in one place? So we're a bit, you know, it's not generalist, but it just makes sense. So
but Graham,
that
were you not also one of the first stores to do what, not Netflix, but what's that other company?
Oh,
to
yeah,
do mail outs?
It was Netflix. When
Yeah.
Netflix was by mail, which was DVDs rentals by mail before they went download.
Exactly.
And they announced they were coming to Canada. That
Yes.
inspired us to think, well, we'd like to be in this business a few more years, so
Yeah.
maybe we should get in on this now and help our customers out, since we'd been promising more stores for years and
Yes,
never
and
done
never
that.
did.
No, so that way we
Which
could
in the
serve
long run
people.
was a good thing.
I think it was a very good thing in the long run. So we went to them by mail, and we did serve people across Canada with the
Yes.
collection, and that's still going. So the DVD by mail thing was very good. Not so good if you have a postal strike,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
helped a lot of people, especially those who don't want to watch a film on their computer.
But when you mention the postal strike, you've actually put your thumb on the whole issue.
Mm-hmm.
The postal strike announced, I don't know what I did with that, I left it in my file, but there was a little piece in today's paper that says Canada Post will now deliver Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, clearly, that's the inroads of email and the internet and texting and so on.
Oh, I interpreted that to mean that that was during the strike because the volume's down so low that they would only give service 3 days a week. I don't know.
It
It's
is
temporary
during,
or
it
not?
is during the strike, but
Yeah, but they could
will
use
we-
that, couldn't they?
Yeah, will we be surprised if it goes on permanently? No.
That would be one way to save them a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, they'd have a big fight with the union and so on, but the
Yeah.
point is, how many people are using the
Mm-hmm.
postal service as compared to 20 years ago?
Those who send me the flyers. That's about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So when did you start to see the writing on the wall about the rental and sales business of these physical properties?
Well, 6 years ago when we started the DVDs by mail, that was an effort to adapt
Yes.
for now. But we knew that always video on demand or download would be the thing of the future. Of course, we'd known that for 10, 15 years. It's just taken a lot longer to get there than we thought. So it was a bonus for us, the same way that DVD was a bonus for us when it came around in the late 90s. However, nothing could be put off forever. And we first noticed it almost exactly, well, not quite, almost 2 years ago, that there was a downturn. And so we thought, well, we just need to promote a bit more. So we spent about a year hustling a little more than normal. You know, I'm not shy, I go
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that didn't have a lot of effect, you know, just a little blip. And it continued, and we noticed a very, very gradual decline. So after a while, we started to think, must be everywhere. And it was, it's across the industry. So people were finding other ways to get their movies. They didn't rely as much on one service and one method, and we could definitely see that the writing was on the wall. So we've been planning for more than a year now to figure out, well, when is the natural end to this? When is there a point where we should get out of this? And people always say, well, shouldn't you just switch to download? But of course, the great thing that the studios have always wanted, they always hated having stores that would rent their movies out. They always wanted to sell it direct to the public, and
Yes.
they needed retailers. But the great thing for them about streaming and downloading is they don't have to. They can sell it directly, even though the public might find it harder to choose. They don't need a middleman anymore, so there's nothing for us to sell over the counter. So you don't need retailers really in the long run, and we knew that. So that is why the exit.
And they are now releasing so-called first-run movies. You know, when the internet and downloading and so on started to appear on the horizon, Hollywood held off. You know, they'd still show a first-run movie, the Bourne whatever, the Bourne
Yeah.
shoelace, the Bourne.
But there was a window of at least 30, 60, 90 days
Yes,
that protected everybody along the chain.
Yeah,
that
by the way,
they'd
will
make
the
something.
next one, I've always wanted to know if the next one will be called Born again.
Again,
Sorry.
again, and then again and again.
Yeah, and again.
I know.
So there was that window of 60 or 90 days, but now they're releasing either simultaneously or first. Are they not?
It's quite a mix. They're experimenting so much that everyone, including theater owners, are a little bit scared because they don't know what the model will be and what they can expect anymore. No one knows what they can expect anymore.
Stare into your blue cup and tell me about the future. The Hollywood cinema, another staple of Vancouver lore, is finally closing after all these many, many years. But do you see cinemas eventually just going the way of dust? Is this the last picture show?
I went to the last picture show at the Hollywood, and it was the way I'd like Videomatica to go out. It was a big celebration. But
Yes.
no,
You think
I
we're
don't
always
know.
going to go to the...
Well, in some form.
Yeah.
The number one reason for that,
Yeah.
others have defined it better, but there's a collective experience when you see things together that's far superior to seeing it alone at home or on your computer. And I'm not knocking that at all. We need the choices. I wouldn't be in this business if people didn't need the choice of having the movies they want when they want them, and that was the closest we could get to it in the 80s, 90s.
Yes.
but it's always better if you have a group. So even if it's 10 people in your home theater, that's still a better experience than just watching it by yourself, unless it's something you just want to cry with privately, you know. But there's something about the group experience, whether it's theater, film, or whatever, that's elevating, and it's a. I hate to. I don't think it was David Lynch who said that it's a collective dream that people have when they go to see the film together. But it is a group experience, and it's much more.
But
So
is it
will
still,
it survive? I really hope so.
Is it still? I mean, because so much of it has changed.
It's changed so much, and like I'm sure you and I grew up in movie theaters, and that was a great experience. But it's not necessarily true of kids today. They'll go to the big stadiums to see the blockbuster features, and that's still a big experience. And I think that'll still draw them back. And I think there's that experience. But we all want different levels of delivery all the time. So there'll be everything from watching the news on a very small screen to watching, it could be a sporting or a theatrical event on a very big screen. I go to the National Theatre Series, and that's really exciting. You see plays live from London. I mean, that's not quite as good as being there, but it's big.
You see the Met.
It's good.
People are rushing at 10 in the morning to see the Metropolitan Opera.
So that kind of
the
thing
big
is the experience that I think people still want.
But if you go in an airport waiting lounge is a perfect example, but it happens on the 99 bus to UBC. Kids are watching movies on iPhones.
Well,
come on, not even iPads, but
I
iPhones.
hope they're watching the news or cartoons, but they might be watching movies.
They are.
Which is unfortunate because, as David Lynch says, and I can't repeat him exactly, you know, it's not a movie if you see it on your iPhone.
It's not a movie if you see it on your iPhone.
You can't see a movie on an effing iPhone, he says. It's great. You know, I mean, it just isn't the experience the director
Have they
intended.
brought out the iPhone?
Yeah, that'll be next. It'll be the one that folds out really large on the bus, so you can have the cinematic
it starts
experience.
As this. You take it out of your pocket, you go like this. Yeah.
But I'm open to. I think that we do need a wealth of choices and experiences, and they all suit some purpose. So it's great to have it all. But we're going through such a huge period of change right now. It's pretty hard to say what will and won't survive in the way of different types of exhibition. What are we going to see? Will it be at theaters? Will it be home? Will it be 3D TV? Will it be the iPhone? Will it be the wrist radio?
Yeah, well, we pretty much have the wrist radio. We are in Dick Tracy land already, and have been for some time. Do you see Hollywood moguls putting lots of research money into any one of these areas?
Yes.
You do?
Somewhat, but you know, mostly I think everyone's confused right now. It seems like the studios are trying just about anything.
Yes.
Things like announcing, well, for $30 you can download a movie on the day it's released in the theater and watch it at home with your friends. You know, that's an interesting experiment that sends panic into the theater owners. You know, maybe that model will work, maybe it won't. But they're willing to try almost anything because there's really no rules anymore.
Well,
that's been brought about by the demand for free, and the whole demand for free is a big thing about content. We could talk about that.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and I want to talk about demand for free because that's a big issue.
It's a big one.
But we are here on Shaw Television, and Shaw On Demand, of course, is one of the things that has caused you to close.
Sure.
Because I don't even have to get in my car or walk to Videomatica anymore, or call you. I just go click, 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 Video On Demand. $5.99. There you are. All right, we're going to take a little breather, folks, and remind you that davidberner.com is the website to go to send us love letters and hate mail and the usual collection of goodies. Twitter, Facebook are our social media things, and you can see this show actually on all of those, including on Twitter. Our guest is Graham Peat. We're going to take a little break, and we say thank you to the good folks who have helped us show this program here on Shaw Community Television, Cable 4.
KCM Wealth Management. Vancouver lawyers Dumal and Boscovich. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. David and Mark Goodman.
way you watch movies, the way you watch television, the way you watch and receive news and information has changed, and it's changing literally as we speak. It's very hard to predict what's coming down the pike, but it's very new and very different. It all has to do with technology and then how people with money and resources line up with that technology to serve folks like you and me who are just really consumers of this stuff. Our guest is Graham Peat, who was a pretty good provider for so many years, almost 30 years, at the unique store on 4th and Burrard, Videomatica, always with the big cutout of Hitchcock standing outside. What about, Graham, what about that wonderful little community of Videomatica nuts? I mean, of people who, first of all, they're your employees are all movie freaks, are they not, or have been?
Oh, yeah.
They're all sort of, they know everything about movies, right?
Yeah.
And do they all have specialties? All have
Yes, that's
certain...
what helps us be so diverse.
How did you interview people?
Oh, we used to have a quiz.
Tell me.
We were infamous for the quiz. We had to
Yes.
stop doing it after a while because it was too intimidating. But
Oh.
there was a quiz. You had to fill out like a little exam that asked you questions about obscure film directors, and it's even been parodied. You can get it on YouTube.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But it became a bit of a legend, and we actually haven't used it in years because it intimidated people so much. But it was one way to find out what people knew, but it wasn't really necessary in the long run.
Because
people
you're
were so enthusiastic
Yeah.
anyway.
So, but you had, between your customers and your client base, you had a kind of community. It was almost impossible to walk into Videomatica without engaging in some conversation with a total stranger, getting into some dialogue about not just this is a good movie or it isn't a good movie, but people were like, you know, they were like you expected them to show up in the New Yorker next week. I mean, real critics. You know.
Oh, no, it's true. People would come in and think they're out in 5 minutes. They end up
No.
10-minute, 15-minute conversation with someone they don't know
Yes.
about what movies they liked or didn't like, and it would go on all over the place. You should see how hard it is to close the doors at night.
Yeah.
The hardcore are still in there, you know, and
So
push them out the door.
Have you considered, I don't know what you're thinking about in your quasi-semi-joking retirement, but have you considered carrying that forward at all in terms of, you know, the annual or semi-annual or monthly Videomatica cinema caper or something?
Yeah, because I've been involved with so many film festivals and
Yes.
programming events. I think it's quite possible to be something like that. In fact, to start it off, there is going to be a Videomatica weekend in August at the Van City Theatre,
Yes.
which will be a whole weekend of Videomatica's defining films, that kind of thing.
Really?
Which we hope will be fun. And I'm going to do the Cinema Salon in September and present a film of my choice too. And I'm working with festivals still, and I think that there could be that ongoing dialogue. I'm also hoping to be involved with their collection in some way once it finds a home too.
And if I host one of those sessions for you, which 2 or 3 movies do you think I would choose?
Would you choose?
To host,
Oh.
to present, because you and I have had
Yeah.
many conversations on radio and
Oh, God,
television
yeah.
about movies.
Yeah, unlike you, I can't sing all the songs from all the films. That's your specialty.
Yeah, thank God.
I just remember the names of the obscure directors.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Well, I'll tell you.
We all have our talents.
I'll tell you some other time, but I'd be happy to do it. Let's look at that subject that you raised, and it's a tricky and sometimes nasty one. It's the
Yeah.
whole business of entertainment for free, entertainment on demand. There is a huge problem. I mean, it started earlier with musicians and writers of music, trying to make sure, with the proliferation of downloading a copy of tunes, that they were recompensed in some way for their creative efforts.
The copyright issue.
Yes, and now it's an enormous issue. I will tell you that most of the young people that I know from China have never paid for a movie.
No, absolutely not.
And they're nice
Mostly-
kids. They're nice kids, but they don't mean to be thieves, but they just take it for granted that it's okay to download and pirate a movie.
Well, the whole generation in general, yeah.
Everybody.
It's true. If you grow up thinking that it's all free,
Yes.
it is, and there's no way they're going to pay for it. And I fully understand that. It's just that we have to think about where the content comes from
Yes.
and where the creators are. And I see this possibility of us having all amateur content eventually. Everything is blogged, made at home. You know, where's the good stuff going to come from? Where are we going to get the professionals to provide us with our information?
Oh my!
And I mean,
a
that's an
terrible
extreme
vision.
situation.
That's
isn't
a
it?
terrible vision.
Yeah. No, people can be nurtured, but at some point, it's nice to give somebody a paycheck and say, "Hey, give me your best." And
Well,
I'll
yeah.
pay you for it, you know, and that's what the whole basis was. And whether they had shares in it or whether they copyright or not, at least
Yes.
you had good content. Somebody had to be paid. Somebody had to be able to risk their livelihood on that and produce something great. So when we're facing that kind of future, we wonder, the music industry has survived somewhat by artists going live and making money touring,
Yeah.
and in publishing there's been a fair turnaround, and there's some control of electronic books and other sources, but with film it's such an incredibly expensive and collaborative effort to put out anything of value. Surprisingly, though, the big 3D films are well financed. But what about everything in between? What about all the independents and all the art films and all the really interesting stuff?
yes, but
Where will that come from? It's already suffering quite a bit.
Go back in your statement for a moment there, Graham. Look at books. Look at publishing. Publishing is collapsing as we speak.
Yes.
Traditional publishing is collapsing with the advent of Kindle and whatever Heather's version is called. I can never remember the name of it. Kobo. Yeah. One of the problems with that system is that there is now file sharing. There are now file sharing. So you pay $9.99 to Amazon to download Philip Roth's latest novel, Nemesis, and then you call me and say, hey, or text me and say, hey, David, I want you to read this book, and bleep, bleep, and I haven't paid for it.
That's what I was alluding to, and it absolutely is correct. That is what's going on, yes.
Okay, so
there goes that model already.
How does Philip Roth get paid his already meager fee? Because even though he's Philip Roth, in his case, because he's famous and deservedly so, he'll make millions of dollars up front. But per book, on a $32 book, he might make 98 cents.
Yeah.
Okay, and he won't even make the 98 cents if you have a program that passes it on to me. So what do we do about that?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Oh, you don't have an answer.
I wish.
And
we could solve
in
all this.
film, it's a particularly big question because of what you said, because it's a huge collaborative effort. You've got the costumes, the sets, the design, everything.
It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not one guy writing in a room or one person composing and hiring a small band. No, it's a pretty big effort, and it costs millions usually. So, yeah, these are issues I worry about, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with it.
What proposals, if any, have you heard, for example, to protect a film?
It's pretty difficult, isn't it? Almost everything you come up with can be beaten, so... I think what it really takes, bottom line, is it takes a willingness from people, and I hope they don't have to hit bottom and have nothing to watch before they decide, yeah, maybe I'll risk $5, maybe I'll pay for something. That would be the problem, is that I hope we don't have to go that far before people say, well, I'm getting a lot for free, but I'll subscribe to this, or I'll buy this, or I'll pay to see this.
Okay, but one of
like I did in the past.
But one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, Graham, that ASCAP, the music publishers did, was they added a fee into every new...
the blank media. So
yes.
when you get recordable media, you pay a premium. Yeah.
The premium's already built in to protect them.
How are you going to do that with cable and internet? The catch there is, look what happened. Look at the outcry when people were going to be charged for using more than their share of downloading per month. That got beaten down quickly. So where's it going to come from? Somebody has to pay for all that bandwidth at some point. And is it going to be the cable companies? Is it going to be the government, or is it going to be users? That's a big issue that's coming.
People actually, you're confirming my suspicion here, that people actually believe, especially young people, that the internet is a free ride.
Yeah.
And it should be free.
Ads pay for it. Yeah.
Well, they're wrong.
Yeah.
They're completely wrong.
Somebody has to pay somewhere.
Have you seen the latest stories over the last weekend on the environmental impact of Google, for example? Google has 800,000 acres of computers churning stuff out. They've got entire cities of computers churning.
The myth of paperless and the wonderful.
Yeah, and it's carbonating the entire.
We didn't talk about
world.
that much. No, I'm glad that's coming out finally. These are all prices to pay. And
Let's look at the content version of this. One of the things you raised, hidden in one of your comments, reality TV versus actually long form scripted work.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Biggest Losers can you watch until you throw up?
Gee, that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah.
And I'm paying Shaw for that.
Yeah. Couldn't we please have scripted dramas
I
and
kind of
comedies?
miss some drama and comedy. I
Yeah.
would like a little more, and that goes across the industry, whether it's for television or film.
Do you have a closing date for Videomatica?
No, but I want people to realize that one other thing to think about with content is that there's this myth that you can now download or get everything free or get it somewhere. But the truth is that places like us that collected a lot of independent material and went direct to artists and made an effort to get these things, huge numbers of titles have fallen into this gray area where nobody has them anymore.
Yes.
And you can't get them. And it's just, you have to think about that. What happens when it's gone and we can't get it anymore? We need ways to make that
I
available.
will personally pay you $1 million if you can get me a copy of the Alan Ladd version of The Great Gatsby.
Oh,
Because nobody seems.
there's my new life's work, because that's a tough one, and you know it.
Graham, always a great pleasure.
Thanks, David.
There's something else I want to ask you, but I can't remember. Oh yeah, can we buy, before you give all your library to universities or sell it to universities? Can people like me come in and buy some things?
That would contradict what we're doing.
I
The
see.
answer is no.
Okay, that's
Sorry.
That's clear.
We're keeping it together.
I just hate it when people are clear. Thank you.
But you're not the first to ask.
All right, folks, that's it. We're out of here. Next week, Robin Sylvester, this president and CEO of Port Metro Vancouver, will be our guest. Everybody thinks the city runs on lattes and condos. Wrong again, kids. It runs because of that port, because of the body of water. And so this is a guy who's running just about the biggest ship in town. All of those resources that go in and out, they've got to go by truck or by boat. Thanks for being with us. DavidBerner.com is the site to go to. And again, we're pleased to bring this to you here on Shaw Community Television, Cable 4.